meaningful and also enjoyable in the context of our celebration this morning of Shabbat Atzmaut, the Shabbat closest to Yom HaAtzmaut, which was celebrated Ba'aretz in Israel on Wednesday night and Thursday. And we're delighted to be sharing this service across not only our two liberal communities of East London and Essex and Birmingham Progressive, but also with Benji Maor of the Leo Baeck Education Centre, Haifa, who together with the managing director and head teacher of the Centre, Rabbi Ofek Meir, has supplied a lot of the material that we're going to enjoy during the course of this morning's service. I wish to remind those who are part of the Zoom congregation that this is streamed now, and so if you don't wish to be seen at any point, then please do turn your camera off. And when we get to the prayer for healing, also remind everyone that we won't be naming people out loud, given that this is a public service being shared more widely. So with all that in mind, let me introduce you to Benji Maor, who is going to introduce the theme represented by the postage stamp that you can see in front of you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this morning from Haifa, from Israel. It's so significant how even during a pandemic, a time when there is so much struggle and tragedy, that we can overcome that and we can see positive and we can connect our community here at Leo Baeck and Haifa through the materials that we'll have this morning, together with your communities. And that's something that we know that even beyond when the pandemic is over, as we're beginning to feel that happen here in Israel, that we'll continue to be able to have these kind of relationships. So it is Shabbat Atzmaut, and there is to celebrate. And this is an opportunity for you to learn about the values and vision and commitment of the Leo Baeck Education Centre in Haifa, and also to see how that reflects on what's positive about Israel and what's about Israel that we want to be celebrating at this time. You can see the symbol that we've chosen to lead us and to be kind of a theme throughout our Shabbat morning service, the menorah, not to be confused with the Chanukiah from Hanukkah, which of course has 7 branches. The menorah, it has 8 branches. The menorah has 7 branches. And is a symbol that goes back as far as Sefer Shemot, the book of Exodus, and the wanderings of our people and the construction and the symbols built around the tabernacle. It's a symbol that was used in Solomon's temple, and especially the image, which I'm sure many are familiar with, when the Jews were being marched into the diaspora by the Romans. The symbol of the menorah became a symbol for Jewish sovereignty, and it's continued throughout the generations. And I think for that reason, it was why the Chalutzim and the early founders of the state of Israel chose the 7-branched menorah to be a key symbol of the state of Israel. And so for our service, for our Shabbat Shacharit morning service, we're going to, if you will, virtually, since we are meeting virtually, light a candle. And each candle will represent a theme, an ideal, some content connected to the Leo Baeck Education Centre and Israel today, and thus will enhance our opportunity to celebrate Shabbat together and celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut together. 7 is such a significant number in our Judaism, of course, symbolizing the Shabbat and the reality that we can create for ourselves. So Shabbat Shalom, and we'll begin our service.
Thank you so much, Benji, and Baruch Haba to you today. It's lovely to have you with us. We're going to begin in very much the theme of one of these founding values and enduring values of the Leo Baeck Centre, which is that equality between peoples and also between the sexes is a core value, and that opportunities for the male and female students, and also for those who are gender fluid, are fully open as part of the operating principles and fundamental values of the centre. And so we're joining in Martovu, and we're celebrating the houses, the tents, as well as the communal gathering places of our Jewish people. And we're doing it so that we're celebrating both those that are more perhaps masculine and those that are more feminine. So please join with me if you wish. Of course, remaining muted as you do so. So sing as loudly as you wish in the privacy of your own space. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu halayich Leah, Mishkanotayich Rachel, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu, Ma tovu.
In 1938, Rabbi Dr. Meir Elk founded the kindergarten that has evolved into the Leo Baeck Education Centre. As he said, every school in itself is a community of life. Therefore, it can and it shall become a religious community. The Shabbat and the holidays, the prayer every day are steps to its realization. Every school ought to have a synagogue which will develop a new form of religious community. But school is not only a community of the young people, it is at the same time a community of parents. The school, with its specific pedagogical aims, takes influence beyond its frame. Its synagogue may become the synagogue of the parents, and the religious forms developed in it shall unite the children with their parents. So the school becomes the nucleus and the center of a new organically growing congregation. This congregation will by and by become self-reliant. It will attract other people, but it will remain in contact with the school and will draw its strength out of it.
בקודשו, הללו ברקיע עוזו, הללו בגבורותיו, הללו קרוב גודלו, הללו בתק השופר, הללו בנבל מחינו. Never there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Please go ahead, Neil.
I can't see the full text. The second candle, isn't it?
It is.
It needs to be moved over a little bit to my left-hand side.
That may be something that you need to adjust on your screen, because we are seeing the whole text.
I'll just no. I'm sorry.
If you're on a pad, you should be able to pinch the screen and make it bigger or smaller.
I'm just trying to. Sorry about this. I can't. I've got off standard. No, I'm just.
You place your cursor at the top.
Oh, I've got it.
your
Yes,
drop
yes,
down.
I've done it. Yes, I fixed it. Thank you. I'm not used to these modern. Right.
Okay, well, let's proceed.
Yeah. Rabbi Reuben Bob Samuels took the mantle up from Rabbi Elk, saying in 1974, prayer and ritual, indeed religion itself, means nothing at all if it is not a response to the greatest and deepest moral crises and challenges of our day. May all of this mean nothing at all if it is not to remind us that in tumultuous times we are called to lead with love, to bring a commitment to equity and equality, to justice and dignity to the forefront. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due now and forever.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Rabbi Samuels continued, "Love is generated one person at a time through empathy and caring. Our life might seem pleasant, but in the long run, we cannot have a good life if others do not. A strong democracy cannot survive where many of its people do not have a good life. We cannot have two parallel societies, one middle and upper class with enough material wealth, and another with not enough to have a basically healthy physical and spiritual life. Society must give opportunity to all to realize their dreams and have a decent life. It is this value that we must pass to those who follow us. Never be satisfied that you have it all. There is no all until all of us, all others, have a good life too."
Marilyn, I think you were reading.
We will continue to develop the school and to inaugurate a community centre based on those values which have characterised Leo Baeck through the years. A humanistic Judaism generated by social justice and equality for all. We will teach our traditions in a spirit of the search for truth. We will teach the language and the culture of the Arabic-speaking people amongst whom we live. There will be absolute equality between females and males, and thereby help build an Israeli society based on pluralism and egalitarianism. We will open our doors to young Jews from the diaspora and send our students to their communities.
We join now together in the words of the Shema, as at any point in the service where we might usually be standing, you are free to stand if you wish, to draw yourself to attention physically in some way, or simply to do that in your own mind. As we recite the first two lines of the Shema first, and then we'll sing them. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one. Praised forever be God's glorious majesty. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Va'ed. Va'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. V'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha. V'kshartam la'ot al yadecha, v'hayu l'totafot beinenecha. Uchetavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. You shall love the Eternal One your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Let these words which I command you this day be always in your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be like frontlets between your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Come to the third candle of the menorah, which is about the path to redemption, and I'm not certain, but I think we have Isabel reading this for us. Isabel, we need you to unmute and then start for us.
Life begins with its historical revelations. It is not possible to continue the old way. New missions arise, new methods must be created. This is the situation Judaism must confront today. It is only possible to solve current challenges as much as humans are capable of solving them. Only by forging a solid covenant where the older generation and the younger generation will unite together, mutually helping each other. The adult will help the child and the child will help the adult. The teacher will help the student and the student will help the teacher to forge the way to meet the needs of today and tomorrow. Rabbi Dr. Leo Baeck.
Community educational platform that serves to inspire Israelis to live their lives committed to three key values: liberal, pluralistic expression of Judaism, tikkun olam and social justice, and Israel being a shared and inclusive society for all its residents.
My name is Mika. I'm a junior here at Leo Baeck, and I've been here since kindergarten.
My name is Mai. I came from the Jewish village of Daliat El Carmel, from the Carmel mountain.
Before I met Mai, I saw Druze in a typical way. Traditional clothes, traditional village.
She even asked me if I have a cow. For some people, our friendship is special. For us, it's a natural.
Leo Baeck is much more than a school. For us, it's a synagogue, it's a community. It taught us many values.
Like tikkun olam, helping others, volunteering.
Most of my family are Orthodox, and they don't really get why I go to a Reform Jewish school in Israel. But I feel more connected to that part. It makes me feel equal.
Because I came here, I learned a lot about the traditional holiday of Jewish. I even go to Mecca to celebrate the Rosh Hashanah with her family.
This unique combination of being a school, a community center, and a synagogue means we impact on tens of thousands of families in Haifa.
Our goal is to promote and to bring liberal Jewish values and lifestyle to everyone in Israel. The way to do it is through education and community, and to invite people for deep conversation around issues of human rights, democracy, Jewish pluralism, education, and community. Mai and Mika, for me, symbolize the best and the goodness of Leo Baeck. Jews and Arab living together in one progressive community, accepting the others, love each other, and become eventually best friends.
I feel like Leo Baeck gave me the tools to set me up for army, university, and even life.
Our vision is to create at Leo Baeck a model for Israel's state, Jews and Arab, Orthodox, Reform, secular, all together in one community.
The biggest compliment I would give Leo Baeck, that I would send my kids to learn here in the future.
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elokei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak ve'Elokei Yaakov, Elokei Sarah, Elokei Rivka, Elokei Rachel ve'Elokei Leah, Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, gomel chasadim tovim v'koneh hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימא אחות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניכם למען שמו באחווה. מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. We praise you, Eternal One. We praise you, O God, shield of Abraham and protector of Sarah.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. We praise you, O God, the source of life. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי שביעי שבת, כולם יספעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. והשמיר עתית בו רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. To continue our service, Bob and Di Kamal will read this responsive passage for us.
6 days shall you be a workaholic.
On the seventh day shall you join the serene company of human beings.
6 days shall you take orders from your boss.
On the seventh day shall you be the master or mistress of your own life.
6 days shall you toll in the market.
On the seventh day shall you detach yourself from money matters.
6 days shall you create, drive, create, invent, push, drive.
On the seventh day you shall reflect.
6 days shall you be the perfect success.
On the seventh day you shall remember not everything is in your power.
6 days shall you be a miserable failure.
On the seventh day shall you be on top of the world.
6 days shall you enjoy the blessing of work.
On the seventh day shall you understand that being is as important as doing.
Thank you both. As you can see right at the end there, that was a video created in the first wave of the pandemic, or Yom Ha'atzmaut, but we felt it was such a relevant theme and a message for us that we've included it, acknowledging that we are now 1 year on. We're going to take a couple of moments now for personal reflection and prayer on what we've prayed so far together, what we've shared this morning, where we are individually at, and then we will come together, as you can see on screen, to join in singing Oseh Shalom in a couple of moments. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol bnei Adam.
As we come now to the service for the reading of the Torah and our vision of and for Israel, we sing Ashlosha Devarim, a reminder that from the Pirkei Avot, the sayings of the fathers, that the world stands on three things: Torah, worship, and loving deeds. Ashlosha Devarim, Ashlosha Devarim, Ashlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Ha'olam Omed. Al HaTorah ve'al Ha'avodah ve'al Gemilut Chasadim. Al HaTorah ve'al Ha'avodah ve'al Gemilut Chasadim. we had a choice of Torah reading this Shabbat. We could read the traditional liturgy, the traditional Sidra for the week, which we're reading in Birmingham, would normally read in Birmingham, or we could read from the alternative liturgy, which ELELS are following, a liturgy put together by Rabbi Pete Tobias, which is rather more thematic. And in the end, it wasn't much of a choice because the traditional Sidra is called Tazria Metzora, and it deals with all sorts of impurities and skin disease called Metzora, and so on. Whereas the reading that is in the ELELS liturgy is about the spies being sent up to tour the land. And of course, that has immediate relevance to the land and our freedom as a people there, which we're celebrating on this Shabbat. Our reading begins with the names of the spies, and it's perhaps no coincidence that their names are largely forgotten, except for two, except for Yehoshua ben Nun and Kalev ben Yefune. The others refused to believe that they could enter the land. They brought back Dibat Ra, an evil report of the land. But in a later generation, the children of Israel did indeed come to the land. They were chalutzim, and we'll read a little bit later about the idea of the chalutzim, which could mean an armed man, but also a pioneer. And it came to be in modern Zionism that the chalutz was indeed the pioneer who had faith, who built the land, who recognized that it was a good land and the land that we could make our home. And so 3,000 years after the events of our Torah reading today, the land was entered. The land did become again our homeland. And so this reading makes that connection. And it ends with a symbol that was adopted by what was then called the Palestine Wine Company, known to us as Palwyn, and it became the symbol of Palwyn wine. David Harrison is now going to read for us the English.
Right. The Eternal One said to Moses, I send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders. So at the Eternal One's command, Moses sent them out from the desert of Paran. All of them were leaders of the Israelites, and these are their names. From the tribe of Reuben, Shamuel, son of Zachar. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb, son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Igal, son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hosea, son of Nun. And from the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, son of Sadi. And from the tribe of Manasseh, a tribe of Joseph, Gadi, son of Susi. From the tribe of Dan, Amahel, son of Gemali. And from the tribe of Asher, Sether, son of Michael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, son of Vashti. And from the tribe of Gad, Geuel, son of Maki. These are the names of the men that Moses sent to explore the land. Moses gave Hoshea, son of Nun, the name of Joshua. And when Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, go up through the Negev and go into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. And what kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live to? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees in it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land. It was the season of the first ripe grapes, so they went up, and they explored the land from the desert of Zin as far as Rahab, towards Lebo Hamath. They went up through the Negev and came to Hebron, where Ahim, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, lived. Hebron had been built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And when they reached the valley of Eshcol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. And 2 of them carried it on a pole between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. And that place was called the Valley of Eshcol, because of the quantity of grapes which the children of Israel cut there.
Thank you. And it's a great pleasure now to call up virtually Benji Maor, with the hope that in the not too distant future we might be in Haifa, able to celebrate a service on Shabbat there. Ya'amod Binyamin ben Yehudit v'Rachmiel.
Adonai Hamavorach, Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Im Kol Ha'amim, Ve'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. ידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, שלח לך אנשים, ויתורו את ארץ כנען, אשר אני נותן לבני ישראל, איש אחד למטה אבותיו, תשלחו. כל נשיא בהם. וישלח אותם משה ממדבר פרן, על פי אדוני. כולם אנשים ראשי בני ישראל המה, ואלה שמותם. למטה ראובן שמעון בן זכור, למטה שמעון שפט בן חורי, למטה יהודה כלב בן יפונה, למטה יזכר יגאל בן יוסף, למטה אפרים הושע בן נון, למטה בנימין פלטי בן רפו, למטה זבולון גדיאל בן סודי, למטה יוסף למטה מנשה גדי בן סוסי, למטה דן עמיאל בן גמלי, למטה אשר תתור בן מיכאל, למטה נפתלי נחבי בן ופסי, למטה גד גאואל בן מחי. אלה שמות האנשים אשר שלח משה לתור את הארץ. ויקרא משה להושע בן נון יהושע. וישלח אותם משה לתור את ארץ כנען. ויאמר עליהם, עלו זה בנגב, ועליתם את ההר, וראיתם את הארץ, מה הוא. ואת העם היושב עליה, החזק הוא הרפה, המעט הוא עם רב. ומה הארץ אתה הוא יושב בה, הטובה הוא עם רעה. ומה הערים אשר הוא יושב בהנה, המחנים עם במבצרים. ומה הארץ השמנה היא עם רזה, היש בה עץ עם עין. והתחזקתם, ולקחתם מפרי הארץ, מפרי הארץ, והימים ימי ביקורי ענבים. ויעלו ויתורו את הארץ, מדבר צין עד רחב לבוא חמת, ויעלו בנגב, ויבוא עד חברון, ושם אחימן, שישי ותלמי, ילידי הענק. וחברון 7 שנתים נבנתה לפני צאן מצרים, ויבואו עד נחל אשכול, ויכרתו משם זמורה ואשכול ענבים אחד, ויישאו במות בשניים, ומן הרימונים ומן התאנים. למקום ההוא קרא נחל אשכול, על אודות האשכול אשר כרתו משם בני ישראל.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Shoah.
We've also chosen a special haftarah for this Shabbat Atzmaut, the beautiful vision of Micah that many nations will go up to the mountain of the Lord, and that there will be peace, and nations will not lift up sword against nation, and neither shall they learn war anymore.
Do go ahead, Michael, please.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem הנאמרים באמת. Baruch atah Adonai הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו וישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת בצדק. In the days to come, the mountain of God's house shall be established as the highest of the mountains, and shall be raised up above the hills. Peoples shall stream to it, and many nations shall come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountains of the Eternal One, to the house of the God of Jacob, that we may learn God's ways, and that we may walk in God's paths. For out of Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of the Eternal One from Jerusalem. God shall judge between many peoples, and shall arbitrate between strong nations far away. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. But they shall all sit under their own vines and under their own fig trees, and no one shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the God of hosts has spoken. For all the peoples walk, each in the name of its God, but we will walk in the name of the Eternal One our God forever and ever. On that day, says the Eternal One, I will assemble the lame and gather those who have been driven away, and those whom I have afflicted. The lame I will make the remnant, and those who were cast off a strong nation, and the Eternal One will reign over them in Mount Zion, now and forevermore. Al HaTorah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'nevi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha limnucha lechavod v'tifaeret al hakol al Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach yitbarach shimcha b'pi Kol chai tamid leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai makadesh haShabbat.
Shkoach, Michael.
Shkoach.
Sovereign of the universe, be with Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family this day, upon which takes place the funeral for Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. We pray that they find comfort in the knowledge of his long life of service and solace in the affection towards him shown by so many people of all background, rank, and nations. Guide the royal family and all those who govern our country with a spirit of wisdom and compassion, so that they care for the citizen and the stranger and bring benefit to all the inhabitants of our country and the world.
Shekhinah, Divine Presence, bless our congregations and all their members. And as we pray for healing now, we won't name everybody aloud who's in need of healing, but please do put names in chat if you would like us to think of them as we pray. Be with those who seek your presence and all who are in need of healing, spiritual, mental, or physical. Let them know that you are near to comfort and sustain them. Brucha at makor hachayim, hamavi'ah shleimut l'kol hacholim. Blessed are you, source of life, who brings wholeness to all who are sick.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice.
May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
The longing for peace and striving for peace are deeply ingrained in our Jewish soul and psyche. The great Hillel taught, Ohev Shalom v'rodef Shalom, love peace and pursue peace. Our chief prayer, the Amidah, and every service ends with a prayer for peace. Though the road to peace is long, hard, tortuous, painful, and dangerous, we always have, always will walk along it steadfastly, confidently, and hopefully. We, after all, have inspired the world to the extent that it has inscribed the biblical vision of our prophets Isaiah and Micah on the foundation stone of the United Nations headquarters in New York. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, shalom. Eitz Chaim hi lemachazikim b'tomechei meusha. Eitz Chaim hi lemachazikim b'tomechei meusha. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom.
We've had the opportunity to hear from our founder, Dr. Rabbi Dr. Meir Elk, and from who I like to call our builder, Rabbi Reuven Robert Samuels, alav shalom, and from our namesake, Rabbi Leo Baeck. I would like to now invite us all to have an opportunity to hear a message for this year's Yom Ha'atzmaut, this year's Israel Independence Day, from our current headmaster and managing director, Rabbi Ofik Meir. Ofik has a long, important relationship with liberal Judaism in the UK and has been involved with Leo Baeck for 30 years, and also has a connection with London where he studied classical guitar.
Chag Sameach. In Israel, among the Reform and liberal communities, we call the Shabbat between Holocaust Remembrance Day and Memorial Day for Fallen Soldiers with a special name, Rebirth Shabbat. On this Shabbat, we mark the rebirth of the Jewish people after the Holocaust, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. This is the story of the Jewish people, from destruction to redemption, through crisis to growth, and from sensing the end of days to a new beginning. As the Hebrew poet and Zionist pioneer Avraham Shlonsky said, we dare to start over from the beginning because we have come here to continue the story. The modern state of Israel is the largest project of the Jewish people since biblical times. It is a project that connects Jews throughout the world in order to establish and sustain a national homeland for our people. It is a project that makes the vital connection that has existed for thousands of years between the Jewish communities in Israel and Jewish communities around the world stronger. This is something to celebrate in every possible way and absolutely cannot be taken for granted. Looking back at the Jewish history, we see how after King Solomon's rule, our people split into the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. And we see the destruction of the Hashmonaim sovereignty from the Hanukkah story after less than 80 years of independence. We cannot but be concerned and anxious seeing similarities today in the modern state of Israel, this third time in our people's history. On Yom Kippur, 1935 in Germany, only 3 weeks after the Nuremberg laws, Rabbi Dr. Leo Baeck gave a sermon at the Kol Nidrei service. He described the Jewish people's hopeless situation during the darkest time in human history and in the history of our people. But he also spoke with deep faith in the divine and in humankind, spoke, expected, and acted in order to bring tikkun olam and social justice to society. Our situation today is definitely better than it was 80 years ago, but our mission is one we still strive to fulfill. We must educate each individual to be committed to being part of the society in which he lives in order to fulfill her purpose in the world. We must raise a generation of leaders dedicated to human rights, devoted to the values and vision of the prophets of Israel, and to meeting the greatest challenge we face here today, ensuring the state of Israel is both Jewish and democratic. Israel is an extremely complex society, and I often feel boundaries are being crossed that should never be crossed, and our leaders rarely set a personal example to be followed by the way they discourse with each other, and rarely legislate laws that further tikkun olam, peace, and social justice. Our educational and spiritual task today is not any easier than it was in the past, and possibly is more complicated. But we believe in all our heart that people have a strong desire to connect with each other, to have meaning in their lives, and to seek spirituality and community. This educational task was set forth by Rabbi Dr. Meir Elk, the founder of Leo Baeck Education Centre, who taught us that we must plant in our students' hearts a sense of awe and admiration for the wonder of life and creation. And we must enable our students to fulfill each one's purpose and responsibility in the world as a critical thinker, creative, autonomous, and moral human being. Today, our children are exposed to an endless amount of information and data that does not ensure they will be knowledgeable and insightful. They are aware of their many talents and skills, but these do not always align with their purpose of furthering Tikkun Olam. They are expert in communication and have thousands of friends on social media, but not always to hold an in-depth conversation about their feelings, life, and how to connect to the soul of a true friend. Our independence will be dependent on our mutual investment in educating our youth to be autonomous, yet a generation that takes responsibility for life. Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach. Happy Israel Independence Day.
Earlier in our service, we had an opportunity to meet two of our students, one Jewish and one Druze, Mika and May. We also had an opportunity to hear our students sing and perform for last year's Yom Ha'atzmaut, which was so relevant for this year as well. You heard Ofik speak about our investment in education, and this really, for Leo Baeck, is about the future. And we are very proud of our students and the future that they can bring for us, and the hope and the aspirations that they have. And so I want to invite now three of our students to share their thoughts for Yom Ha'atzmaut this year with us at this time during our service.
Sameach. In Israel, among the Reform and liberal communities, we call the Shabbat between Holocaust Remembrance Day and Memorial Day for Fallen Soldiers with a special name, Rebirth Shabbat. On this Shabbat...
Oh, Vicky, we've been back to the previous video, I think.
Is that not? Sorry, apologies. Let me just come out of the share.
That's okay. We'll come back to it. There is a lovely message waiting.
I've got it.
Building up the expectation for everyone in the congregation.
Hang on, just bear with me a second. Okay.
Lovely, thank you.
This week, we will celebrate the 73rd Independence Day of Israel. Yom Ha'atzmaut for me is a day of joy for the citizens of the country, who on most days of the year might concentrate on everything that's wrong in Israel. But on this day, the citizens cherish the best about the country and wish for the best in the following years. Yom Ha'atzmaut comes close to Yom HaZikaron, a memorial day for the fallen soldiers, which causes us to mourn for the heroism of the soldiers who gave up their lives in order for us to have such a wonderful country before our return to Independence Day festivals. This celebration mixed with grief reminds us all that nothing is taken for granted, and we must act to mediate disagreements and gaps in order to strive for a state of peace. Since its establishment, Israel has absorbed many immigrants, including both of my parents, who immigrated from the former Soviet Union. The road for them wasn't not easy, but the country welcomed them with a wide smile and the feeling that this is where they belong. I feel similarly. This is where I belong, and I want to contribute to my homeland.
This week, we celebrate 73 years of Israeli independence. On this day, I think it's important to appreciate just how much we've accomplished. In less than a century, Israel has gone from a concept in the mind of our pioneers, the Chalutzim, to a thriving, powerful nation that can compete with Western countries in terms of education, healthcare, and quality of life. Israel is a leader of the high-tech industry, and new startups are founded in Israel every year.
A long time has passed since Ben-Gurion stood in Tel Aviv and said the fateful words that started a war and founded our country. Today, Yom Atzmaut, is the perfect day to look back and see what has changed. In the 73 years of its existence, Israel has achieved many incredible goals. We have earned 12 Nobel Prizes in peace, literature, chemistry, and economics. We have come up with incredible inventions in agriculture, medicine, and technology. We have a strong and moral army, and those are just a few examples of what Israel has achieved. For me, Yom Ha'atzmaut isn't just a day to look back and take pride in all of our achievements, but also a day to look forward. It is a day of hope, a day to dream. What can we achieve before Israel celebrates its 74th birthday? Maybe until then, women will be able to serve in all units of the army. Maybe until then, we will have peace with Syria or Lebanon, or find a way to solve the Palestinian dispute. Maybe we won't have another election until Israel celebrates 74. We would all like that. The future of Israel depends on us, the citizens of the country, and specifically the youth, who will be the leaders of tomorrow. We hold the power to make all these hopes for next year come true. In Leo Baeck, every student take part in Tikkun Olam, volunteering and social projects. This teaches us personal responsibility, and overall, I believe it makes us better people. I believe this very volunteering we do in schools is the root of our hope for the future. Looking around at my fellow youth, the leaders of tomorrow, I can be at ease and know that we will be proud of our country for many more Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Thank you, Benji, for preparing and for introducing these wonderful tributes and messages for us to absorb. And I know some people are already commenting in the chat about how much they appreciate them. We hope, congregants, that we will have an opportunity after we conclude our service for you to pick up some of the thoughts and messages that you've heard and have a little bit of time to question and answer with Benji before we conclude with Kiddush. And so now we're going to move into our concluding prayers, the Aleinu, which will be on the next slide, and which take upon us the responsibility of that seventh candle as our menorah is fully lit to carry forward the task into the future. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
The Leo Baeck Education Center, we really believe that we are your values in Israel. And we believe that this has come about because of the strong connection over the years that we've had with so many of you as individuals and as community leaders in your community in the UK. And one of those people, of course, was Rabbi Harry Jacobi Zichrono Livracha, who I personally did not have the honor of meeting, but I've heard so much about his commitment and his passion for so many things, including the Jewish people, Israel, and our values of caring for those in need. So it could not be more fitting that Jewish Child's Day graciously has set up a scholarship fund, the Rabbi Harry Martin Jacobi Scholarship and Relief Fund, to support families with children in need at the Leo Baeck Education Center. And we're proud of this partnership. And I also want to thank you, Rabbi Richard and Rabbi Margaret, for your partnership not only in this service, but also in carrying out the legacy and the values that we so dearly share of your beloved father, of beloved memory, and moving forward and knowing that our youth in Israel and connecting with your youth as well can also be exposed to and be inspired by these values.
This passage was written by our father on for Parashat Matot in 1992. It refers to the commitment of the tribes of Reuben and Gad to support their brothers and sisters in the land of Israel, even though they themselves chose to remain outside the land. But it also reminds us what being a chalutz, a pioneer, means. We should certainly be chalutzim, pioneers, in our willingness and readiness to come to the aid of our brothers and sisters in need. We should also be chalutzim in our willingness and readiness to fight against the forces in our day and age which are opposed to our ideas and civilization. The violence, the intolerance, the greed, the dishonesty, the inequalities. But we can only do so adequately and effectively if we take note of the implications for us of two additional words in the Torah. Numbers 32:21 reads, Va'avar kol chalutz lifnei Adonai, and every chalutz of you should go on before the Eternal One. What is the meaning of before the Eternal One? The implication for us is clear. Surely we should be chalutzim, ready for battle, prepared to fight for a good, worthy cause. But unless we do so lifnei Adonai, as people of the Eternal One, proud, conscientious, dedicated Jews, and inspired and guided by our Torah, our teachings, we shall neither prevail nor succeed.
Source of life. We pause now to remember all those who lived their lives with the same hopes and aspirations as us, but whose time on earth has ended. We join today with the whole country and the wider Commonwealth and other countries as well in remembering Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, on this, the day of his funeral. We also, as a community, remember in the East London and Essex Liberal Synagogue, Paul Malloy, the father of our member Claire Krigo Malloy, whose funeral took place this week, and Daniel Carpel, a cousin of one of our members, whose funeral will be on Monday, as well as those marking yahrzeits, including Carol and Alf Quinton, remembering their son, Ben. Richard Stevens, who is remembering his aunt, Hilda Weiss. Phil Casson, who is remembering his brother, Steve Casson. And for those in Birmingham and anyone else who would like to mention someone that we don't name out loud, if you would like to add them into the chat or unmute yourselves, we'll give you an opportunity to name them now. Margaret.
We think of Ian Lloyd, the mother of Tony Lloyd, Len Bevington, the father of Nina Grove, Emil Solomon, the father of Eva Becher, James Rowe, the grandfather of Lynn Barrington, and Chaim Kretzmer, the father of Michael Kretzmer. And we also think of Richard's and my father, whose yahrzeit falls next Shabbat according to the English date.
Thank you. And I'm at the moment not seeing anyone else wishing to add a further name to our remembrance this morning. But I would like to invite, therefore, anyone who wishes to join us in reciting Kaddish to feel free to unmute themselves and do so now as we say together with the prayer that their memory, the memory of all those that we have named, will continue to be an inspiration and a blessing to us as we say together, Yitgadav Ba'alma
Tifra Virute Yamlik Malhute
Ayedekon V'yomechon
Vayitiko Beit Israel Bagalives Man Karib Vimru Amen Yehesh Merabam Mefarak Lealam Almaye Almaya Yitbarak Bishtarak Vitaha Vinuman Vinase Vitada Vitale Vitalal Shemeta Kusha Riku
Min Kol
Yalamin Kol Bachata Visharata Tushavata Vanekamata Damiran Miyama Vimru Amen Yehe Shalom Baram Shamai Bahaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Israel Vimru Amen Ose Shalom Bimromav Huyase Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Israel V'Al Kol Bnei Adam V'Imru Amen.
We pause for a moment just so that we can hear relevant announcements for both communities. Firstly, from Stuart Spivak on behalf of ELELS, and then we'll come to whoever is going to give the announcements on behalf of Birmingham. Stuart.
It's muted.
Sorry, thank you. Sorry. Shabbat Shalom all, and this has been wonderful. Thanks to everyone who organised this service, brought everything together, planned it, hosted it, took part in it. It's really been fantastic, and to see the voices from Haifa has been inspiring. It's been inspiring. It's been emotional, as I put in the chat earlier. It's great that Zoom can bring us, people from Essex and Birmingham and Haifa all together without all that travelling. Zoom does have advantages, and it's lovely to see everyone together. So thank you. I won't mention everything that's going on because it's all on our synagogue updates and websites and whatever. Just I was going to confirm an error from last night. I didn't mention that Knit and Natter is on tomorrow at 2:30. And on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m, we're starting a series of talks with Rabbi Pete Tobias on putting the O in God. So please have a look at everything else, and everyone's welcome. Shabbat Shalom, take care, and it's fantastic, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Richard. It would be lovely to join you for the Pete Tobias talk, so perhaps if you let us have details we can send them out. Thank you, Richard, who really put together this service. We're really grateful to you, and Benji, thank you for all your help in putting it together. It has been very moving, and I also do want to thank Leo Baeck Centre and Jewish Child's Day again for setting up that scholarship to our dad, which is such a lovely, he would have been so proud about that. I'll just mention two events. Tonight we're joining with another synagogue, the South London Liberal Synagogue, for Havdalah, and we'll be telling a story before Havdalah. And tomorrow we have our quiz, our community quiz at 7 o'clock. And again, ELELS members are very welcome to join us.
Thank you, Margaret. And to conclude, we return to, in this case, some of the teaching staff of the Leo Baeck Centre, who will celebrate the fact that this is indeed a celebratory special occasion, singing for us a version of the Shehechianu.
וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
The service is now concluded, and so we wish to provide an opportunity for just a few minutes, only 5 minutes and less. There seems to be a whole demand for questions, for people to ask questions arising from the service, the content, or wanting to know a little bit more about aspects of the centre. So if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to unmute. We're keeping the stream going for now so that those, although we may not be able to take your questions, but you can at least hear the questions and the answers. So I'm seeing a couple of people who've unmuted already. Neil and then Val. Perhaps we can take both questions, Benji, and then you can respond to them.
Can I start, Richard?
Yes, please.
Benji, I'm interested in education. I'm interested in how you educated Leo Baeck. And I'm particularly interested in how you educate people to be critical thinkers. What do you do with the sort of kiddies in their late adolescence, 17, 18-year-olds, to enable them to think critically about issues? Are there particular techniques? Do you teach them philosophy? How do you go about encouraging children to think critically about life?
Lovely. Thank you, Neil. Great question. And Val and David?
Yes, hello, Benji. Thank you for facilitating all this with everybody else. I was delighted to see the singing and playing, but what I'd like to ask you is, how is it equal that all the girls are doing the singing and all the boys are doing the playing? Do you not teach your women to play instruments, and do you not teach your boys to sing?
So lovely question. I'm honored to answer them. The way that we encourage and foster critical thinking amongst our students is really in threefold way. First of all, our staff leads by example, and our staff themselves demonstrate critical thinking in the way they approach life in Israel. And being example for our students, there's nothing better than that for youth to see people that they can mentor and follow. As we remember from the text from Leo Baeck himself, there's a dialectic relationship between the students and the teachers, realizing that they can learn from each other. The second thing is, and I can't go into the full curriculum now, but we do expose our students to a lot of different types of pluralistic texts, texts with different approaches, so they can learn and be reflective on those texts, and they learn a academic research style of approach towards the text. And the third thing is, we believe that the best learning is doing. And as Ma'ayan mentioned in the video about Tikkun Olam, our students are doing alongside their learning. So they get a chance to experience life and to give to the community, and they do it in a way where they have a reflective process similar to service learning, so that the action that they're doing, they're not only doing it, but they're also understanding its impact and how they themselves can become leaders in the future to have a wider impact. I think it's typical at Leo Baeck. We have one of the largest physics program in the country, and we're very proud that more than 50% of our physics students are young women. Whilst overall, we're open to men and women doing all aspects of what happens at Leo Baeck, be it musical, which was the specific question, or in general. We do find it a lot of times at this age because we're encouraging gender equality, that the women really take a step forward. The delegation of students that we've sent now 3 years in a row to Kenes Limud, to the Limud festival, has been predominantly women and less young men. And that's just the reality of our students.
Thank you, Benji. Two more questions, one from Debbie, and then I'll take one from Peter as well, and we'll hopefully give you a chance to address both of those. Debbie.
Oh, hi. Yeah, like a lot of people, I found it very moving this morning, and it was just lovely to see everybody working together so positively. I just wondered if you could tell me how many students there are at the college, to get an idea of the sort of impact, I suppose, of what's going on, and also if you think there's scope for further colleges and what else is going on that in similar veins. Really, I feel very ignorant, so thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And Peter.
Yes, my question sort of follows on from that. It's just a general question about what are your admission criteria for the college?
Okay, so I'll start with the second question, may then move to the first. First of all, just to remember, we're our school, the Leo Baeck Education Centre. We're not a college. So just to get that one straight. The elementary school and the primary school and the high school on our campus are semi-private, and the middle school is a fully public. So generally you need to register, and I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but it's a reality. For our primary school and for our high school, we have more demand than we have supply. For example, in our high school, we have 10 applicants on every one available space. So generally people are applying to get in, and we try to accept everybody. This is a time to mention that we have students from immigrant families from Ethiopia in our primary school, and they're able to study there because of generous people like yourselves or people in the United States who provide scholarships for them. And that's something that's really important to us. Altogether, from reception through high school, we have 2,400 students, Debbie. So it's quite a big operation. And both in our middle school and our high school, the reason we have so many students also is because we have the only gifted students program in Haifa, and one of the most renowned gifted students programs in the entire country. Well, at the same time, we have 150 students with high functioning autism spectrum disorder that are also integrated into our middle school and high school. So there's a lot going on at Leo Baeck. It's really been our vision and our dream to figure out how can we have impact beyond Haifa into the rest of Israel. A lot of rabbis and people in high tech and educators are graduates of Leo Baeck, and we're beginning to understand now that the more we can invest in developing our alumni community, which is something which is not typical in Israel, especially at the high school level, then we know we can expand our impact. And we've already received some capacity support to do that. And we're discovering that our alumni, half of whom are located in the center of Israel, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, are very much interested in continuing what we call Leo Baeckiyut, or the Leo Baeck values of Tikkun Olam, of religious pluralism, and of multiculturalism in Israel in their communities beyond the country. So we believe as much as we can invest in that, we'll be able to have a wider scope of impact throughout Israel, because we know how important, especially in the current climate, that your values and our values are shared not only in Haifa, but throughout the entire country.
Benji, thank you very much. And to all our questioners, thank you. I think that's given us a wonderful opportunity to gain a little more understanding of Leo Baeck. And all I can say is, if you have the opportunity to go and visit the centre whenever you are in Israel or in Haifa, we will, and Benji will do best to facilitate such visits and give you an opportunity to see what's going on in person.
Richard, I also wanted to not to neglect to mention that we're not only a school, and we like to call ourselves a school, a shul, and a pool, meaning that in addition to with everything I spoke about with the school, we also have a community center on our campus and a progressive synagogue congregation, Ohel Avraham. And there's no institution that we know of in Israel that integrates the school shul pool model. And by having such a model, we actually reach thousands of families in Western Haifa and all the different kinds of programming that we implement. So that's just to kind of round out the whole picture. And as the quote from our founder said, our belief is that the way to bring liberal Judaism to Israel is through schools, is through education. Thank you.
Thank you, Benji. And so let's conclude with so much to celebrate, and that we can toast both Israel's 73rd birthday and also the wonderful work that is being done by the Leo Baeck Education Centre. Margaret is going to lead us in Shabbat morning Kiddush.
Thank you. And do please join in your homes. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת
לדורותם
לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
And as we all virtually connect together, we can join in singing Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. So with that, our formalities, our service is concluded. We want to bid Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and to all those who've joined us via the stream. We wish you a happy remainder of Shabbat, and the week ahead we wish you a Shavuot Tov as well. And for those who are on Zoom, in just a few seconds we'll allow you to unmute and greet each other. So to those on the streaming, thank you very much. Farewell. Have a good